He, the Black Army of Hungary, stood among the most renowned mercenary forces of the late Middle Ages, when Hungary was repeatedly endangered from the north, south, and west. The Hungarian monarch discovered what he required in the Black Army, a corps of soldiers marked by strict discipline and loyalty. In this video, we explore how present-day historians recount the tale of Hungary's Black Army. During the 15th century, Hungary encountered a fresh danger. The Ottoman Empire, steadily rising in strength since its emergence in history, began threatening numerous European states throughout the 14th and 15th centuries. In most decisive encounters of this era, the Hungarians were frequently defeated. At the Battle of Varna in 1444, for instance, a European coalition attempted to halt the Ottomans' advance into the Balkans, but was unsuccessful. For years later, in 1448, during the Second Battle of Kosovo, a Hungarian-led host tried to avenge Varna, only to be defeated once more. The final barrier blocking the Ottomans' expansion westward was Constantinople's mighty fortifications. These walls had held firm until 1453, when Mehmed II finally seized the city. With that conquest, the last vestige of the Eastern Roman Empire disappeared. From then onward, the Ottomans expanded their dominance deeper into the Balkans. The gateway into Europe now stood open. Their subsequent targets were the Venetians and the Balkan kingdoms, Hungary among them. Hungary soon endured relentless military strain from Ottoman incursions. Overall, Hungarian-Ottoman wars were not usually marked by massive engagements. There were several significant clashes and sieges, but as historian Colin Imbert, an authority on the Ottoman Empire, notes, the Ottomans primarily waged continuous small-scale warfare across the Balkans. The phrase "little war" described these daily skirmishes near borderlands or in the proximity of sieges and campaigns. We have discussed such conflicts in another video, linked above. In these confrontations, Ottoman irregulars conducted raids on villages and towns, plundering goods and seizing captives to be sold as slaves. These raids yielded enormous profit for Ottoman frontier commanders, who often carried off thousands of prisoners. Thus, the so-called Little War was no trivial matter. These incursions were a grave menace to Hungary, draining both its manpower and resources. Historian Thomas Paulos Falvey explains that, recognizing the scale of the threat, the Hungarian crown initiated military reforms to counter it. Hungary created a layered defense system, small buffer territories, a chain of border strongholds, reinforced levees and banks to control flooding, and a renewed emphasis on light cavalry. The pressure to respond to Ottoman raids also spurred the establishment of the Black Army, though its origins were not solely tied to the Ottomans. In 1458, Matthias Corvinus ascended as King of Hungary. In Latin, his name was Matthias Corvinus, translating to Matthias the Raven. He faced severe challenges on multiple fronts. The Ottomans remained a formidable danger in the south. In the north, Hussite mercenaries, largely Czechs and Moravians, launched attacks into northern Hungary. The Hussites were followers of Janos, a reformer who defied the Catholic Church, sparking the Hussite Wars of the mid-15th century. Though their peak had passed, remnants of these soldiers still ravaged Matthias' territories. Meanwhile, his third problem came from powerful nobles opposing him, who backed the Habsburg ruler Frederick III's claim to the Hungarian throne. Worse, Frederick actually possessed the crown of Saint Stephen, the sacred symbol of Hungarian kingship, given to him earlier by Elizabeth of Luxembourg, mother of Vladislav Posthumus. Without the crown, Matthias lacked full legitimacy as king. Frederick refused to surrender it, holding it as a bargaining chip. Thus, Matthias pursued three chief goals: reclaim the crown, subdue rebels in Upper Hungary, and repel the Ottomans. To accomplish this, he needed a professional, dependable army rather than the inconsistent levies of Hungary's feudal forces. Traditionally, the kingdom relied on nobles to muster their own troops, the so-called bandirium system, as well as the militia portalis, which obligated one mounted archer for every 20 peasant households. Though modified slightly, this structure largely remained intact under Matthias. But Matthias required soldiers he could always depend on. Skilled fighters like those from the Hussite Wars, unfortunately, they stood against him under their commander Jan Jiskra, who supported Frederick III. Meanwhile, Ottoman influence continued to grow in the south. Breaking off negotiations, Matthias offered Frederick III and Jiskra large sums of money. In exchange, he gained both the long-desired crown and the service of Jiskra's mercenaries. Although costly, this arrangement secured Upper Hungary and gave Matthias the foundation of what became the Black Army. The force did not emerge fully formed, it developed gradually. According to historian Thomas Paulos Falvey, it became a permanent institution only in the 1470s, with its size varying depending on campaigns. The title Black Army itself appeared only after its dissolution, and its meaning remains uncertain. Some link it to a commander named John the Black Haugwitz, others to blackened armor, though Matthias himself wrote in a letter to the Bishop of Eger that the army had no uniform appearance. In that same letter, Matthias described its makeup: heavy and light cavalry, artillery specialists, and infantry drawn from diverse origins, initially Czechs, Moravians, Poles, and Germans, later joined by Hungarians. The infantry was divided between regular footmen and armored soldiers, known as armati, Latin for armed. These were supported by shield-bearers, the Clypedi, who wielded large shields to form mobile protective circles, similar in function to Hussite wagon forts or Swiss pike squares. Unlike the Hussites, however, the Black Army relied less on war wagons, instead blending Eastern and Western tactics. The most striking development under Matthias was the prominence of light cavalry, the hussars. Equipped with bows, crossbows, lances, shields, and sabers, they drew inspiration from Balkan models and Ottoman horsemen. Some argue this cavalry style began in Serbia, though the origin remains debated. Hungary relied heavily on these hussars to conduct raids and counter Ottoman incursions. In large engagements as well, cavalry dominated. In one letter, Matthias claimed his army had some 20,000 horsemen compared to 8,000 infantry. Contrary to older assumptions, the Black Army was not primarily infantry-based. Infantry still held importance, especially in the north and west and in fortress defense, but along the Ottoman frontier, cavalry prevailed. Hungary's southern defenses, a line of fortresses stretching from Szeged to Belgrade, became the backbone of resistance. Infantry played crucial roles in sieges, such as at Geiss in 1463 and Zabak in 1475, though they were seldom decisive in southern field battles. Unable to defeat the Ottomans single-handedly, with minimal support from Europe and the papacy, Matthias concentrated more on conflicts in the north and west, where he triumphed. The Black Army even captured Vienna in 1485 after a determined siege with cannons and towers, and Matthias resided there until his death. His avoidance of a direct showdown with the Ottomans proved wise. After Mehmed II's death in 1481, his successor Bayezid II showed less interest in Hungary. Still, border raids continued, forcing Matthias to maintain strong defenses. In addition to the Black Army in the north, Hungary funded another standing force in the south and still raised noble levies when needed. Altogether, Hungary fielded 3 active armies, yet this achievement came at enormous cost. As Paulos Falvey points out, even wealthy states like France had only just begun forming permanent armies, while Venice avoided them for financial reasons. Matthias' system was far ahead of its era, but unsustainable. After Matthias' death in 1490, the immense expense of maintaining the Black Army became impossible. The famed force was dissolved, marking the end of Hungary's most innovative military experiment.